I want to start this presentation with something that is going to sound a little bit like a harsh truth. 50% of small businesses fail in the first 2 years. And in 5, that number gets to 67%, and some reports show that in 10 years it's 90%. And in the end, it's tough. Businesses and founders look at capital. Can't make that rent payment. We're struggling to make payroll. Inventory is depleted and we don't know how we're going to replenish it. But the truth is, the failure of the business happens long before capital runs out. It happens when a business stops to have clarity in what they're doing and who their customer is. As we're moving forward, today's session, I want you to think about your small business. How many small business owners do we have in the audience? Good. If you're thinking about founding a business, think about that one. And if not, if you're here to participate, think through this with my friend Elena Garza. Elena Garza is the founder of Shift Cycle. I'll tell you, Elena is smart. She's hardworking. She is everything that a founder needs to be. Entrepreneurial mindset, she's strategic, and she had a great idea. She saw an opportunity. Right here in the Valley, you've seen the news reports. Brownsville and Edinburgh are connecting with bike lanes. Bike availability or accessibility is becoming better than it ever has been. And there's a new market for e-bikes. You don't have to pedal and get all sweaty when you're going to work. You can have that bike assist you as you move along. There are businesses that are having trouble with parking. You look right out here, I had to park down the road and walk over here. Man, if I had a bike, I could have come right up to the door and parked it there. Elena saw that. And that's why she started Shift Cycle. Her business is e-bike subscriptions. She provides an e-bike that you can rent or lease and use for a certain period of time, and Elena's company takes care of that maintenance. They go out and fix it for you. If you have a flat, call Elena. She'll go out and take care of that for you. She is looking at helping other people because folks own their own e-bikes, but they don't know exactly where to get it fixed. Well, hey, if I'm providing these services, I might as well fix other people's bikes too. And Elena saw an opportunity for partnerships for a small fleet. If there's a business in downtown where you don't have parking, maybe they could do something to offer it as a service. And she's even starting to think about expanding into RGV in South Texas College. Now, before anybody starts to wonder where they've seen Elena, my brother saw this and he said, hey, Ben, I think I want to get one of those bikes. Where can I subscribe? This is made up. Elena is fake. That's a stock photo from somewhere. I think my brother was going to ask for her number and all that stuff. I don't know Elena. So she's some model somewhere that took a stock photo. And Shift Cycle is made up too. So don't try looking for it for your business. But I want you to think through. We're going to take Shift Cycle through this whole exercise. For the next 40 minutes or so, we're going to think through Shift Cycle as an example. And if you've got a small business or an expanding business, I want you to think through your own business. I'm going to ask you to do a couple of things. I want you to be honest with yourself. I'm going to say some things that might sound harsh. It's not an attack on you or an attack on your business. It's just, sometimes it's the truth about us as humans. And I'll tell you, I've been in that seat too. And the mistakes that I'll talk about founders making, I've made them too. I've been in that. And so I'll start with the lie that founders believe. They start off by telling themselves, man, if I just had more capital, this business would work. If I could just grow this business, if I could just move into this new market. Shift Cycle and Elena, they have some traction. I mentioned to you that Elena has her setup. She has a great idea. She has a few people who have signed up and said that they want to sign up for leases, long-term leases with her bikes. Every once in a while, she has somebody come in and they'll have her fix their bike because they don't know where to exactly take it. This is an e-bike, Not every bike shop can fix that. She's talking to a downtown employer who might work with her, and she has found the person to talk to at UTRGV in Texas Southmost College, and has the idea that she can go there. And she's even thinking about, well, home base is Brownsville, but if I'm talking to UTRGV, maybe I ought to start talking about setting up shop in Edinburgh too. All of these things are possibilities. But I want to think inside the business. Elena's thinking, I could do all these things if I just had more money. But let's get real for Elena's sake. Inside of her business, all of those ideas are good, but Elena's trying to do too many things, trying to serve too many people, considering too many revenue streams, and all of the things that she wants to do sound expensive, and she, in the back of her head, thinks that she just needs money. But in this session, we're going to think through that and hopefully realize that that's not the answer. The harder truth that she needs to accept, her business isn't clear on who its primary customer is, what its core offer is, and what actually is working. And then from all the things that she's already offering, does she need to cut something? Does she need to quit focusing on an area? For a second, I want you to think about your own business. Or if you don't have one, think some more about Elena's business. Have you ever called something in your business, or is Elena calling something a funding problem when it's really a focus problem? Give you a few seconds to sit on that. Capital doesn't correct confusion. Capital just confounds it. It makes bigger the issues that might already be happening. It amplifies what's already there. Money's gonna help you move, and motion feels good. As a founder, I'm busy, I'm a hard worker, I'm a hustler. Elena is one of the hardest working people that I know, but movement isn't the same as success. And money is gonna make you move, but it doesn't help you see what that truth is. It doesn't help you get clear on what you should be focusing on. When you get clear, Elena will be able to have sharper focus on what she needs to provide in a few areas. And you heard me mention them before. What is her core offer? What is the thing that she's actually providing? Who is her target client? She can't serve everybody. Who is it that's actually going to rent this from her or lease these bikes? And then, what's the biggest holdback? What's the issue that's keeping her from moving forward or keeping her business from the highest levels of success? If Elena can get clear on those things, capital can do some good. I'm not anti-money. I understand that there are times to expand. I get it. Capital can really do some good. With clarity, that's sharper focus. More money with clarity is going to give you stronger execution. When you're clear on what you're going to do, you know where to put that money. But without clarity, all the money is going to do is create more noise, faster waste. If you want to just do more because you have more money, it puts you in a position where you make bigger mistakes. You need a lot of motion that's just expensive. For your business, if you had twice the amount of money in your bank, would you know where to spend it precisely? Do you know exactly what you would do with it? I've seen this pattern before. My background is varied. I spent the biggest part of my career in education. I spent 21 years, with 15 of those years as a school turnaround leader. But most of my effort was on the school business side. I saw the same problem. Resource allocation was important, but people were asking for resources before they were clear on what to do with them. But I've seen it in other industries too. Before I went on to teach, I got a degree in economics. Went to Rice University, 2004, degree in economics, and the principles that are in this are pure and simple economic principles. Economics is the study of scarcity. How do individuals, households, how do firms, and how do governments allocate scarce resources to get the outcome that they want? I started my career in management before I went into teaching. I managed a health club. I was regional director for a sports training company, managed a pub for a year. In every one of those instances, the problems were the same. Whether it was resource allocations for teachers in a classroom or allocating our resources in that college pub that I was running. Now, I don't want to sugarcoat this. Scarcity is hard. The time that you deal with in a business when you are worried about making payroll, when cash is short, it's not fun. There's not a joyful outlook that I can give you on struggling. And it happens. It happens to a lot of us. But scarcity also does something that can make your business stronger. There are successful businesses out there who have been through scarcity, who have been through the hard times, and when they come out on the other end, they're stronger for it because scarcity forces you to make trade-offs, to understand where should I put this dollar because dollars are short. I'm understaffed. What is the best use of this personnel? Man, I'm having to do everything. I'm the owner here. What is the absolute best use of my time? What do I need to stop using? If you really look at it, scarcity exposes what matters for your business, and it can make you sharper if you're strategic about how you use those resources. But if you're confused, you keep multiple priorities, you keep trying to do everything, it hides the weak assumptions that you have, and it can drain your money and momentum so that a business that's confused, when those hard times hit, when resources are scarce, they don't make it out of the other end. Luckily, Elena and Shift Cycle are not short on cash right now. They're at a point where they need to be strategic and prepare for a time where things can be scarce. I want you to think through your business. For these 5 signs of confusion, one at a time, let's take about 30 seconds each for your business, and out loud, I'm going to think through it for Elena's business and Shift Cycle to think, where is confusion costing us more than we think? In the first area, are you solving too many problems at once? Well, for Shift Cycle, yeah, Elena's trying to target multiple audiences, and they're really spread out. Employers, students, firms, and individuals who might sign a lease. Oh, and people who own their own e-bike because I want to fix it for them. She's really spread out in these problems that she's trying to solve as a business. Chasing activity that doesn't create traction. Right now, Elena's spending a lot of time on social media. She likes the likes. If somebody comments on it, she feels good about it. But does a like on social media turn into a sale? If it does, sometimes it does. You've just got to be honest with yourself. Elena's got to look at her marketing strategy. Who is it that's engaging with her on social media, and is that leading to sales? You're spending before key assumptions are validated. Elena's right on the edge of that trap. She's thinking that she should expand to Edinburgh. She's making an assumption that she's going to get a deal with RGV, but what do you think? Do you think Elena should take out the loan, invest the money, and expand to Edinburgh right now? What do you think Elena should do? What's that? Niche down. Yeah, maybe niche down. Or if it's going to be RGV, let's test that idea out. Let's find out if that's a real idea. Maybe that can be but yeah, it could be niching down into one area or validate that this RGV thing is real. Instead of assumptions, let's look at some data. Carrying the complexity the business hasn't earned. Elena's business is small. She's making just enough to pay the bills, but has she earned the right to expand her business? Has she earned the customer base that's going to support her trying to go to another customer base? And finally, is Elena delaying some decisions that she hasn't made? That's one, if you've got a company, I want you to sit on for a second. Is there a decision that you know you need to make, but you haven't made it yet? For Elena, it might be that she's employing a full-time e-bike mechanic, and she's only fixing 4 or 5 e-bikes per month, paying that full salary. Is that a good decision on her part, or should she rethink it? Go back to my economics background. In decision making, once Elena's gotten a little clear on what's causing confusion, it's time for her to find out what's actually creating a return on her investment. Put it the 80-20 rule. For a lot of people, it's the Pareto principle. It's a simple idea that makes sense whatever the industry. 20% of your efforts are usually going to account for 80% of your results. If you own a small business, a lot of the time, 80% of your revenue is coming from 20% of your customers, or 20% of a customer base. That 20% of your sales are coming from, 80% of your sales are coming from 20% of one service type. I was a high school principal. 80% of my discipline issues came from 20% of my student base. or even more than that, probably 1 or 2 teachers were responsible for about 90% of the issues on campus. The point of this is that there are certain things that the same amount of effort creates a whole lot more traction. There are some issues that a single issue that would take a certain amount of time is creating a whole lot more drag than the other things that you're dealing with. And sometimes there are a few decisions that are leading to the critical outcomes that you really need to have happen. And so in your business, have you identified that? Have you gotten really honest with yourself about where the big rocks are moving from? What things are happening? Because if we're really being honest with ourselves about our business, there's a lot of things we're doing. As a business owner, you hustle, you're up, you're pushing, and it is absolutely commendable. But does everything deserve the same amount of attention from you? Because you only have so much in your tank. You only have so much time. You only have so much bandwidth. And if everything is getting the same amount of time from you, then that 20% isn't having the effect that it really should be having. Once we've identified what that 20% is, we can start talking about the vital few, those few things that are really moving us along, versus the trivial many. Businesses that make it, that 50% that make it past the second year, and the 10% that are still around in 10 years, they hit a point where they had to get ruthless about what in their business they were going to protect. They had to be really honest and sometimes make decisions that hurt about what they needed to cut, what they needed to test, an idea that they had that sounded beautiful that, man, inside of me feels like I put so much into it and it would be so wonderful to have. They tested first. They checked the data to see, am I being truthful with myself? Have I really tested this idea? And then sometimes those ideas are good, just not for right now. So they make the hard decision to not do something yet. I can put this thing off. This great idea is good, and I'm going to do that, but I can't do it right now. And the vital few, your core customers, you get down to knowing who that base is, who is really going to buy my product, who am I going to market to. My strongest offer for Elena, what is the service that I provide, or is it the subscription? Is it the bike repair? Is it partnerships with employers? Is there a real opportunity with the university? Which of those is my strongest offer? And then what's my bottleneck? For Elena right now, it's her. Elena's doing everything. Elena is having to be the one to make every decision, and it means that because everything has to wait on her, things aren't happening on time. So that's a realization for this small business. And then, once I've got all of that, what's the next key decision? Not the next 7 decisions. What's that one thing that I've got to do. For Elena, in the next week, in the next 7 days, what's the one thing that I need to do to move my business along? Now we've gotten real. We've been honest with ourselves. We've gotten to the vital few versus the trivial many. We know what's moving our customer base along. Now within that, now we start to test things. What's really driving the traction? I go back. Who's my customer base? For Lena, as she thinks through it, right now her best customer base is actually individuals. Right now, it's not she doesn't have any employers. She has some ideas with the school district, but right now she has a core of individuals who have an e-bike subscription, and there are people right here in town who live close enough to work that an e-bike works for them, and they hate having to park way down the road. What's the actual offer? Well, for Elena, right now, it's the subscription service. That's what's getting her customers. Those other things can wait for right now, but right now, it's subscription service to individuals. The channel, how are they finding you? Elena's marketing for the past 3 months has been to everybody. She posts on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. She is buying Google ads. She's going to every event that she can make it to. She's working really hard and she's hustling. But the people that she is actually targeting don't go to any of those. And if she takes her ad spend and narrows it, Elena's market is actually 18 to 36-year-olds. Those are the folks that, in her own data, right now, the subscriptions that she has is in that area. And the market in Brownsville, wow, that's a large part of the population right here. And there's probably some crossover between what she was thinking with the college kids and the local employers already, so it sets her up in the future to maybe do those things. But her focus is on those 18 to 36-year-olds and where are they getting their ideas from on where to spend their money. And then finally, and this is the one that I want you to think about, what are the patterns? I mentioned a couple of them for Elena, that she did some ad blasts. She did them specific and targeted to areas. She geofenced within certain parts of Brownsville. And she found that, oh, that data got me immediate feedback and these people were buyers. What are the patterns in your business? Take a minute and think about the data points that you've considered and how you've used that data to decide what's your core offer. Who's your target client? How are you going to find them? Where are they getting their ideas from? Once we've gotten honest, we've gone through and we've found what the trivial many are and the vital few are, we realize that good leaders and good founders, businesses that succeed, ask better questions. As founders, we're constantly asking ourselves questions on the left column. How can I do more? And how do we grow faster? How do I keep everything moving? That's human nature. Those are the questions that come to us. But if we want to get real about our business, we need to ask better questions. Take a minute, pick a question from the right side, and answer it about your business. What's actually working right now? What do I need to stop? What has not been proven and what matters most right now? And now, what question have you been avoiding? See, these are the questions that we have in front of us, but what question have you been avoiding? Well, help me think through. What's a question that, from the scenario we have, what do you think Elena might be avoiding? Yeah, I mean, so it's a market question. What happens if I do all this work and they're not interested? So yeah, the question about the market, you're right, she hasn't gone through and done that study to find out where her market is, and it kind of goes back to that core customer and the core offer. Now we're gonna shift into the actual work. So I'm gonna put the microphone down, and this is actually a couple minutes for us to go through these. We built this up. We talked about Elena and shift cycle, but this is the culmination of that. Same things we've been talking about. But I want you to spend 3 minutes answering these questions. If you don't have a business, you can answer them for Elena. 3 minutes, putting the microphone down, I'll walk around, and I'll ask you. The first question, what problem, so tell me about your business. What business are you in? All right, what's your name? Iris? Hi, Iris. Iris? Let everybody hear you. All right, Iris and I are going to do this together. Your talk to Iris was great. Thank you so much. Iris shared that her business is IT solutions. Iris, what problem are you actually solving with your business and for whom? Very cool. And Lenny, I really like your answer. I think you jumped a little bit into the area that maybe it's a little bit funkier, the decision making. You talked about communication with your team and monitoring, how you're solving that. Who is your customer? So thank you so much. Thank you guys. Give Larry the hand for being great. So you're thinking through the problem we're actually solving and for whom. If I have, thank you. So if I've got a small business, who is the customer? Very specifically, for Elena, who is the customer that she is going to have rent or lease her e-bikes? And what is it I'm doing? Is it a subscription service, or is it a repair service? Or am I going to talk to businesses and have a program where I'm working directly with them? Going down, what's working well enough that it deserves more focus? That Pareto principle, what's that 20%? Where are we spending time or money that has not been clearly validated? Have we tested what we're doing? Do I need to quit spending some of the time? Am I spending too much of my time on some of that assumptions? Yeah. Where's ownership fuzzy or bottlenecked? Even for small businesses, this happens. And sometimes especially, when you've owners trying to do so much, it's unclear what people are supposed to do. What decision do we need to make right now and not later? Founders are by nature optimistic. To go out and start a business means you've got to believe in something. You've got to be willing to take a leap of faith without knowing it's going to work. And if you don't have that general optimism in you, you're not even going to start a business. So I commend you for having that. That's the strength that you have to start a business. But it's also something that is a risk. That optimism means that sometimes we're going to get so excited about an idea that we believe that it's going to work without looking at the data. We mistake interest. We mistake clicks and likes on social media for actual traction. We protect ideas because we love them, because they are our ideas and we worked hard on them and we believe in things. And we think that if we believe hard enough, it's going to work out. Sometimes an idea hasn't earned that spot. We avoid decisions for the same reason. I put so much into this. I know that this is something good because it means something to me. Yeah, and I don't want to throw it out. But the truth is that we need to make a decision on some things, and it's human nature when we know that it's a decision that's going to hurt us, we avoid it. And then we treat assumptions like facts. We see things and the human brain puts things together. It's fascinating. It's a whole nother presentation we can talk about. You see something and your brain puts together the entire picture. You can see this much of something happen and your brain tells the entire story. Well, that happens with our business too. We treat our assumptions like they're facts. We think that this thing that I saw a little signal on, that I made assumption after assumption is true. And so this idea is one that deserves my time, attention, and money, where if we actually test it, it doesn't hold water. And so business owners, hope is useful. I love hope. I will never give up hope. But hope is a terrible operating system. You need to go through the process that we're talking about here to get clear. And so once you've gotten down this path, and you've found out where you're clear on, what your customer base is, and what the product is that we need to offer, and how we're going to get out there and offer it, and where they're looking, you need to filter some of these decisions. You ask those hard questions. But when you're answering them, when I'm trying to come up with what the answer is, we need to take another Economics 101 principle, opportunity cost. Every yes has a price. Even the ones without a price tag. A $0 choice still costs you something because it costs you what you're deciding not to do. Your time is limited. You only have so much bandwidth. So every time you choose something, whether it's your time, whether it's your energy, whether it's your capital, think about what will not get that time. Think about what's not going to get your money or your attention. Think about what's having to wait because you're spending time chasing something else. And so, as we think about this one, what assumption do we have that we've been treating like a fact, and what are you saying yes to right now for your business that is quietly stealing your focus from the things that really matter? And to make it tied to our example, what does that look like for Elena? What is Elena focusing on right now that's stealing her attention? What do you get? Yeah, she's trying to chase all these ideas that are good ideas. I like Elena's ideas. But because she is so spread out, She doesn't have the energy, the time, or the capital to focus on what we've gone through and what we've identified is her core offer, her target customer, and the place where they're going to make that decision. Where they're making decisions. The second filter that we put them through, the good questions that we're asking, is sequencing. Your ideas are not bad ideas. Elena's ideas are not bad ideas. Don't think that I'm saying that if you've got big ideas that they're wrong. Don't chase I'm not saying that. Sometimes the question that you have to ask is not, is this the right decision? The question is this the right time? You go through a process. First, let's validate it. Is this assumption that I'm making a good assumption? Is it based on the truth? Did I look at the data? Is there real traction behind the decision that I want to make? If I've checked that box off, let's go through the next step. Have I simplified it? Have I gotten it down to where it's easy to understand? Ideas in their simplest form are the easiest ones to support. If it's a complicated idea, it's going to be a complicated solution, and we might not have the bandwidth for it right now. Let's start simple. Let's prove something simple and build on that. Have we strengthened it? Did we find what was working, and did we already strengthen that thing? Elena's got her subscription business to individuals. Has Elena spent the time that she could use to get more individuals to rent or lease her e-bikes? Has she strengthened the core business and her target client? I mean, it looks like she hasn't. Before she goes on to scale, which I think is actually a good idea. I think that Elena's idea to get into RGV, because college students at a rate higher than ever before are going to college and not getting their driver's license until they're 21. And so they don't have the cars. Elena's got a good idea, but that's scaling up. It's not time for that right now. Elena, let's back up. Let's validate our assumptions. Let's simplify our offer. Let's strengthen it. And then when the time is right, we'll take your great idea and we'll scale it up. And number 3, what's the bottleneck? See, when it is time to grow, and I've made the decision that, yes, I've validated this, it's ready, it's tested, it's true, I've strengthened my idea, I've simplified it, and we're ready to grow, you got to ask yourself, what is that bottleneck? What's actually stalling my business? And I'll be clear, it's not the thing that's making the most noise. It's not the loudest problem that's necessarily the one that's causing the most problems. So it's not something that needs attention just because you want to pay attention to that. You got to really pay close attention and really analyze, where is the bottleneck? Is that bottleneck demand? You said it. Do people actually want to lease these e-bikes? Is there demand for this? Have I misinterpreted market signals? Is it supply? Am I not carrying enough inventory to answer that demand? Is it personnel? Do I have somebody answering the phone, or am I missing phone calls that would be critical for my business to thrive? Or is it me? Am I putting every decision on my back and not allocating the decision making to the person who can make it and showing them how to do the job and then trusting them to do it? And I go back. We want to fix the problems that are loud. We want to fix that thing that annoys us. Yeah, we should get those things off our plate when we can, but it's not always the most important thing. I learned it. I learned it in lots of different industries. I don't want to tell you stories about it, but sometimes things that bothered me as a leader or a manager weren't the most important issue to solve. Sometimes we might need to deal with being annoyed a little bit to solve the bigger problem. And the way to answer that is, where is that bottleneck? Is the annoying thing where growth is getting stuck, or is it another area? And then I'll go back to our human nature. Because we delay those decisions And I've been there too. And I feel for you if you have thought about this and you've identified that thing that, man, I have been putting off, and if I had just fixed that thing, I think I'd be doing better in my business. It's human nature. You're not wrong for that. You're human for that. But there's a way for us to think past it. You delay in making a decision sometimes because you say, we just need more time. Where the truth is, I just need to make a decision. Sometimes I have all the information that I need, and I just need to step forward and make the decision, because delaying puts it off and keeps resources in an area that don't deserve them. Sometimes I think, I can handle this. I can keep both of these things going. I'm Superman. Of course I can do it. But the truth is that if we're doing so many things, our bandwidth is fixed. I think I at least quit being Superman when I was 25. That ended back then, a long time ago. And so we've got to be honest about what our bandwidth is and what we can handle. Well, let's wait for more data. I need more information. That's an easy way to put things off. I need more information. Here's the trigger. Figure out what the minimum amount of information you need to solve the problem or to make the decision. Get to that point and make the decision. It's easy to get lost in a data dive, to get lost in information, and to keep on going down rabbit holes to try to figure something out. You don't need to know everything. You need to know enough. And that delay is costing you weaker traction, slower progress, the areas that we've talked about with the business. We answered a few questions. Here's a diagnostic right before we close out. Take 3 minutes and diagnose your business. Not the business that you hope to build. Not the one that you wish to have or the one that you imagine you're going to have in the future. We've asked the questions, and this is just another way of pulling that. First, what's the biggest source of confusion in your business? Well, for Elena, we've said it. For Elena, it's actually her great ideas. The greatest source of confusion for Elena is that she has so much that she wants to do, and they're actually good ideas. But she hasn't narrowed her focus yet. What's it costing you? Well, for Elena, it's as simple as that bandwidth, the focus. When I focus on everything, I'm ignoring what my core business is. By focusing on everything and spending time thinking about where I might be, Elena has failed to capture that individuals leasing e-bikes is her core customer. Subscription service is where it's at for her because that's where the numbers are pointing. What's one thing you need to stop? For Elena, she probably needs to put on the shelf for a little while the idea that she's going to expand to Edinburgh. Elena, let's be honest with ourselves. Let's not do that right now. One thing she needs to simplify. Well, Elena has been thinking about trying to upgrade her operating system and get new software and train new people. The truth of it is, Elena needs to get as simple as she possibly can on how somebody leases an e-bike from her, makes automatic payments, and schedules services. She doesn't need a big new system. She needs a simple, repeatable, understandable system. And what's the next decision you need to make? Help me help Elena. You've heard it. Somebody from the back over here, a brave soul, help me help Elena. What's the next decision that she needs to make? Yes. Yeah. 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 Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Mhm. Okay. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. 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 Well, and I think Iris is hitting on something that helps in the decision making. And this is kind of a precursor. And so she's going to a different topic, but I want to acknowledge it and say that yes, this is an important part. Having our values, having our mission is a part of this because that aligns with how we're going to approach the customers. I don't want to discount that at all, but I want to think very, very technical, very strategic for Elena. For Elena in her e-bikes, I think she's got to make the decision to go through and decide what is next. Yeah, what is the one thing that's going to make that needle move? Perfect, thank you. And I think there are a few right answers, but it's going to be based on the data and what Elena is really being honest with herself about. And then here's your next move. In your business. Yeah. 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 Yeah, it's what we talked about, simplicity. Very often. Yeah. Yeah. And so I'll ask you, this is the last step in the process. For Elena, and so we've gotten to this point. With your business or for Elena's business, what is that next move? And it could be one of these things. Is it something that Elena needs to stop doing? I think the simplest thing we've said already. Elena needs to stop trying to spend her time in a few areas. Let's put the UTRGV thing on a shelf for a little while, especially that expansion, taking a lot of our time. Elena, let's stop marketing to everybody. Because you know what? A 14-year-old's never gonna be able to get your e-bike without their parent. And I don't know if your market is in the 55 and older range because nobody in that age has leased your bikes. Let's focus on the area that we've got some traction. Got a couple of assumptions that maybe are worth testing. And as Elena looks through, we've made those assumptions about our market and about e-bike subscriptions in 18 to 36. Is there more testing that we need to do that is real data that we can base our assumptions on? And then we need to decide. And as we're doing it, the most important thing that I've talked about is that we need to take these steps to get clear. Because clarity gets us in a position where we can make decisions. And it's a lot of steps and a lot of things we've got to go through, but I had an old track coach. And he said that you've got to go slow to go fast. Taking these steps, getting clear on where you're going, it's gonna not feel fast in the beginning, and it's gonna feel like maybe less of this motion that we as humans and we as optimistic business owners and founders love and thrive on, and it drives our success. Got to hold that back for a little while and get clear on our decisions, because most startups don't fail because they lacked money. In the end, that's the signal, but they get to that point because they lacked clarity first. They make a decision in the fog without knowing where they're going, and they pay for it on the financial end. So I'll close by saying, see clearly, decide honestly, and move on what matters. I'll stick around if you've got any questions. Thank you guys so much. You've been a great audience. I appreciate your time. Yes. Business plan or wherever you're at in your business. If you've got a business that's been in business for 5 years, this is worthwhile going through. Ongoing, yeah. I would say annually is a good time. Some of these things in the back of your head, maybe quarterly, are good things to ask to just remind yourself. Okay, what what is getting traction for me? How are things going? Am I making assumptions about something that I need to test? Is there something that's getting way more attention than it deserves from me? Am I paying all this attention just because it kind of annoys me? Or do I need to spend more time with this because that's what's really going to move the needle? So to have these things ongoing, but you could set up quarterly checks and at the very least annual checks. Yeah. 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 And I'll tell you the places that I saw this, and most of my experience was in school turnaround, but the principles work the same. Where we're checking quarterly, hey, we're bringing this new product in, we're making this new effort. How is it how is it turning out with the student outcomes? We did it we did it when I was managing the pub. We introduced a lunch menu. We tested it. We said, okay, first we did some information gathering, we tested it, then every quarter, are pizza selling more than subs? It was a simple thing that we were doing to figure out how many pre-made subs do we need to put in the fridge. Areas like that, simple quarterly decisions that happen at kind of a snap of a finger, but help us check the pulse. Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Iris. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Oh man,